Here to support my friend Story King Brent, who's got a speech on the 50 years of hip hop at Google. And so it's lovely to see your people elevate. And we out here early in the morning. It's cold, but it feels great because it's a blessing to be alive and see your friends prosper. I know I'm going to be very inspired. I'm already inspired.
So today I'll be giving a lecture at Google in celebration of the 50th anniversary of hip hop. To be clear, I've never been booked for a public speaking gig in my life. This is my first one. You see, I have an uncanny knack for jumping in head in when I decide to finish something. My first DJ gig ever was opening up for Wiz Khalifa and Snoop Dogg in Washington, D.C. for 5,000 people. I mean, just think, I've never performed for an audience before. Yet here I was about to figure it out in front of the world. So here I am again, ready to figure it out in front of you all. So let's get into it. The first of many public lectures, The Art of MCing in Hip Hop by Story King Brent. Welcome everybody. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get loose. It's early, get the jitters out. I just wanna focus on 3 things before we get started, okay? So first I need everybody to be honest, okay? I want everybody to contribute. This is not just a me talking, this is we talking, okay? This is gonna be a group discussion today. And most importantly, I want everyone to have fun. We're gonna have a lot of fun today. We only have a couple minutes, but we're gonna make it worthwhile. So before I get into that, there's a moment that I need to take. Remember I said, let's be honest, right? So can any of you admit that you've been alone in your house and you rap to yourself in the bathroom mirror? let's just be honest. Has it happened? I know maybe you were at the lunch table when you were in school and you were banging on the table and you and your friends, you may have made a rap together. You made a beat together, correct? Well, that just speaks to the bravado and the innate confidence that the hip hop genre already has. So we're going to talk about it a little bit more today. As you can see, when I was a child, I used to get in trouble for knowing all of the lyrics to random Jay-Z songs. I don't know why a 9-year-old would know any of this, but my mom, at times, she wasn't too happy about it. And in 8th grade, I vividly remember, in order to graduate, we had to do a term paper. Now, I could have chosen any topic in the world. We were learning about the Constitution. We were learning about the 50 states. But I said, no, I'm going to write my term paper in 8th grade on the history of hip hop. So it's clear to see that I've had a lifelong infatuation with this genre. So who am I anyway? Well, if you ask my mother, she would say that my name is Brent and the B stands for brilliant. So you guys make some noise for my mom. All right. So I'm a native Chicagoan, educated by Howard University, and we do have some Howard alum here, HU. All right. And I worked at an investment bank named Goldman Sachs as well as JP Morgan, so I've done all of the finance things and that's kind of my background. So I also teach kids about how to be involved in the music industry because when we were rapping to ourselves in the bathroom, some of us didn't make it out the bathroom, right? Not everybody is blessed with the gift to rap or sing in front of thousands of people, but there are still people that need to support those artists, right? We have people that need to be lawyers for these artists. We have booking agents that we need to have. We have people that need to run these labels and these executives. And a lot of the times when you see these hip hop artists on stage, they may be a part of a certain demographic, but the team behind them does not represent the same demographic. So what I did was I went to underserved communities and taught high school students about opportunities to get involved within the music industry that may not be rapping or singing or becoming an artist, something I'm very passionate about. So if you ask my mom, my name was Brent, right? If you ask any of my friends, they'll call me Brent's Hoe, right? That's a name given to me by my grandfather when I was very young. I'm a world traveler. I've had the opportunity to be to 19 countries and counting. I still have some on my list that I haven't seen yet. And a lot of the times people say, if you saw me arguing on the street with somebody, what would I be talking about? Well, it would probably be something about rap. Every time something happens within the culture, everybody calls me, Brent, what do you think about the new Drake album? Brent, what do you think about what Jay-Z is doing? Or whatever Kanye West has done in the news cycle, because we know that could be anything. But that's my God. So more than anything of those, I'm a fearless motivator. So what I do is I always motivate people to make sure that they decide to finish. That's kind of my life mantra that I explain to everybody. Decide to finish whatever you're doing. You may say, yeah, that sounds cool, but what exactly does that mean? Well, before we dive into that topic, I want to make some parallels here. We got hip hop artists and superheroes. So you may say, who's your favorite hip hop artist or who's your favorite superhero? Mine is Spider-Man. Do you guys have any favorite superheroes? Batman, Iron Man, Shang-Chi.
Yeah, like mine would be like Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee?
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, well, let's take Spider-Man for example. So Spider-Man is the superhero, right? But his real identity is Peter Parker, correct? So if somebody was in trouble, would they want Spider-Man to show up or would they want Peter Parker to show up? Well, we would hope that Spider-Man showed up because we have no interest in Peter Parker swinging from building to building, right? It's the same way in rap. You have somebody like 50 Cent. Now, if you pay money to go to a 50 Cent conference, you don't want to see Curtis Jackson. That's his real name, right? Or Calvin Broadus, who is Snoop Dogg's real name, or Sean Carter, which is Jay-Z's real name. We want these people to show up as their rap identity or their superhero identity. So, if we go to the next slide. My superhero identity, if you only knew me and my online presence, would be Story King Brent, right? Story King Brent has DJed for some of the biggest artists in the world, such as J Balvin, Snoop Dogg, Wiz Khalifa, and in addition to being Story King Brent, I call myself something as the Wall Street Dropout, right? So, you can come to my weekly party every Friday and Saturday in the city. And I'm also an involved record producer, and I've had the opportunity to work with artists such as The Game, DJ Quick, Problem, and some other artists that have been on some Grammy-nominated projects. And you'll see by my shirt, it's the Wall Street Dropout, right? And you can have these on StoryKingBrent.com if you're interested. All right, let's go to the next slide. So you have young Brent, you have Brento, you have Story King Brent. But if you just ask me, I'm just a guy who isn't afraid to make tough decisions. So as I said before, as I was working 90-hour work weeks on Wall Street, I said, look, this isn't for me. I have a lot of opportunities going on. I decided that I was finished and I was going to focus on things that brought the most passion from me. So now I use the skills that I gained on Wall Street, and I serve clients individually, and most importantly, I get the opportunity to talk to beautiful people like you about my favorite subject in the entire world, which is hip hop. So what is hip hop, right? A lot of times people associate the word hip hop with rap music. In actuality, hip hop and rap music are synonymous, but we have to view rap music as a subset of what hip hop is. Hip hop is an actual culture that's built upon 4 pillars. We're going to talk about those 4 essential elements and pillars today. Now, the first one I have highlighted is DJing. So, on August 11th in 1979, at a back-to-school party in the Bronx, this guy right here, picture with me, DJ Kool Herc, invented hip-hop, essentially by taking 2 records with a drum beat on each and interchanging them and putting them in a loop, thus creating the first iteration of hip-hop music that we know today because he extended the drum breaks and people were able to dance. So that's DJing. So when you have DJing and you're able to dance to the tracks, that's what introduced something called the B-boy. Now, the B-boy stands for break dancing, or the B-boys and the B-girls. And these are the people who had the cool dance moves, and they would be moving across the floor. And this is a lot of the time where we get our bravado and our confidence from, because these break dancers were very stylish. They had a certain charisma that hadn't been seen before, right? So this is where the culture kind of is based. And you have movies such as Break In or Beat Street back in the 80s that allowed people to understand that weren't in New York City industries to see this culture up close. Now, it's just not the 80s. This still goes on today. We have movies such as Save the Last Dance in the 2000s or Stomp the Yard, even more recently, that still has those B-boy dancing elements to it. Next, you have the DJ who's created the music. You have the B-boy who's dancing to the music that was created. But what if I don't have any type of coordination and I can't dance, or I'm not cool enough to be a B-boy, or I don't know how to be a DJ? Well, I'll know how to express myself artistically, and that's where graffiti comes in. So graffiti is an expression of art in written form. Now, to be honest, there's a natural rebelliousness that comes along with hip hop, right? So a lot of people view graffiti as just a way that is of vandalism, right? But I like to look at it more as cultural communication. And a lot of the times, these people didn't have the canvas, so they use the streets of New York City as their canvas, right? Since I've had the opportunity to travel around the world, I've seen graffiti in Asia, I've seen graffiti in Africa, and it's just incredible that this hip hop lifestyle has spread across the entire globe. So we've covered DJing, b-boying, graffiti, and remember I said that there were 4 elements in total for hip hop, correct? So the last one is going to be MCing, and that's what we're focused on today. MCing, the master of ceremony. Is that what it stands for? So when you're MC, you are the master of ceremony, right? And rap music comes from the MC. So rap is just an acronym for rhythm and poetry. We put it together and you have what we have today, right?
I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's incredible, you know. A lot of things people take for granted how intricate this culture really can be, right? So here we have picture Rakim. So hip hop was founded in the late 70s, but by the mid 80s, Rakim took the genre and he transformed it and elevated it from just a staccato art form that was just made for the parties, dancing in the street, to a more intricate lyrical level. See, before Rakim, a lot of people just said hip hop, a hippie said hip hop, and you don't stop. Rakim took those elements and he really began to tell his story authentically about how he was living throughout the streets of New York. And he took the rhyme schemes and he made them way more complex than they were previously. So it's because of Rakim that we have artists that took the genre to new levels, such as Biggie or Tupac or Jay-Z or Nas. They all came off the back of Rakim's innovation. Because he made this, we can go back. He made this innovation within 1986, and then within the next 10-year period, we had what some would call the golden age of hip hop. That's where we had Nas release Illmatic, we had Biggie and Tupac, and unfortunately, that golden period kind of ended at their demise at the end of 1997. So now we can get into the art of MCing. And MCing can be anything that is used to control the crowd, right? So you can do that through your voice. A lot of the time we have a concept called beatboxing, where somebody will take, they will make a beat with their mouth. So instead of maybe, they'll be like, I know you guys have probably practiced that in the room by yourself. It's okay. Don't be embarrassed. It's fine. But the art of MCing actually comes, and it has a historical reference through jazz, which is another American-made genre through Black Americans. Here we have Ella Fitzgerald, and she's famous for a technique called scatting, right? You may say, what is scatting? Well, scatting is a vocal improv with wordless syllables. It's meant to use the voice as an instrument rather than a speaking medium. So again, we may be confused about what that is. Allow me to do an example. Is anybody familiar with a song by Minnie Riperton where it goes la 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 shoot doo doo doo. That super high note that nobody could. That's in old times, but even in modern times, LMA, she has a song called "Booed Up," where half of the hook is ba da boot up be doo da doo. So these are examples of scatting. They can act as words where or emotions when words can't. So a lot of the times people would describe today's music as mumble rap. A lot of hip hop traditionalists would say, "Oh, these artists today, they're just mumbling. They're not doing any deep lyricism." But in reality, that mumbling has a historical element to it because it's a derivative of the scatting that the jazz artists were doing in the older times. So it's actually pretty innovative if you look at it from that perspective. So now that you guys know about the history of hip hop, you guys know about DJing, breakdancing, graffiti, you know about emceeing and how to scat and where the history comes from. We're going to do something exciting today, and I'm going to teach you guys how to rap. You guys want to rap? Been waiting your whole life for this moment, I know. So the first thing we need when we rap is a beat. Has anybody seen that movie that has Eminem in it? It's called 8 Mile. Today we're going to be in 8 Mile, all right? So this is the beat that they use to freestyle at the end of the movie, correct? Are you guys ready to freestyle today? Okay. So just as we discussed, we want to use we want to create a bar, right? So we want to create a bar and we want to use the scatting method, but what we want to do is we kind of want to focus on one word while we're coming up with a cadence inside of our head, correct? So allow me to pull up my notes here again. So we're going to use this topic. So does anybody want to try their hand at rapping, or should I just go ahead and do it? All right. So if I wanted to rap to this beat, or I wanted to freestyle, I would kind of use a scat in my head, right? The neighbors. You know, you just find a flow within that beat, correct? But we want to have at least one word in mind or one topic in mind that we want to talk about. I'll take a word such as neighbors, right? And we could just use a word that rhymes with neighbors. Does anybody have any words that rhyme with neighbors? Haters. Favors, haters, cater, prayers. We like it. Players. I like it. So we can use all of these words to kind of find a rhyme and a rhythm and a cadence to how we can do it. So each line doesn't have to sound like the last, but it does have to lead into it and give a certain idea. So we say something like, my house is so big I can't see my neighbors, right? I mean, this is New York City. We can probably all see our neighbors if we look out the window. But this is hip hop and we can rap about aspirational things, right? So we'll say, my house so big I can't see my neighbors. Look in my closet, so many flavors, right? It doesn't have to be any groundbreaking things. You can just say how you feel. And you can build upon those ideas, right? So you might even take it a step further and say, ever since I've been up, people want to give favors. Or I'm so cool, I might run for mayor. You know? You just take your time, you build upon one aspect, and you keep going and going until you have a full idea. You come with a 4-bar phrase. So now that you guys know this information, we can go into the studio and we can write 16s and have a platinum selling record. Am I right? So hopefully I demystified the process of coming up with a rap, right? You can do anything. You can go off the top of your head, which is a freestyle, or you can come to a written idea and continue with that way. But that is how we rap 101. Let's go to the next slide. So I want to make sure that I demystify the rap process for you. It doesn't have to be just one way, right? You use hip hop to express yourself authentically and you tell your story. Now, whether that is Nicki Minaj expressing how she's the queen of rap and asserting her rap dominance over everybody, or you have Snoop Dogg who has an affinity for expressing himself for his higher habits, if you get what I'm saying. All right, or you have exactly. Or you have somebody like Jay-Z or 50 Cent who embody the rags to riches element of their success in their American story. The whole idea is that hip hop is how you can authentically express yourself, and the art of emceeing is used to express that vocally. All right. So here, picture you have one of the most important lyrical albums of all time, which is Nas's Illmatic. And that picture that you see of me standing in front of the building, remember when I told the story about DJ Kool Herc having that party in August? It was in that very building that he did it, in the Bronx. When I first got to New York, like I told you, I've been in love with hip hop since I was a child. I went all the way to the Bronx to this building. Never mind the fact that it's not in the best area. So when I did go there, people were just like, hey, what is this kid doing? But I was so eager and I was so enthusiastic about being on the hollow ground and the foundation of hip hop that people accepted me. And there were some people like, yeah, we remember Kool Herc used to be around here all of the time, you know? So in conclusion, I hope that I was able to communicate the ideas of what hip hop is and the art of emceeing. Go to the next slide. And does anybody have any questions for me, whether it be cultural inquiries, whether it's a hip hop debate, because I'm always down to discuss, or anything personal that I may have mentioned across this conversation? Anybody have anything for me? I'm all ears.
Who's your favorite rapper of all time?
My favorite rapper of all time is Kanye West. I'm from Chicago, and he's my guy. You know, it's been a soundtrack to my life.
What about like East Coast versus West Coast? How does that play out in the hip hop narrative?
So it most famously played out in the late 90s, where you had two behemoths of talent, right? You had the Notorious B.I.G. and Bad Boy on the East Coast, and then you had Tupac Shakur and the Death Row label on the West Coast. You also had West Coast pioneers such as NWA, who had a very famous movie a couple of years ago. And you had these two people battling for supremacy because there's a natural competitive element within hip hop. So it's important to note that the East Coast versus West Coast sound also is their own take on the genre. There's no one way to do rap. As I expressed before, you can express yourself authentically however you may feel. So in the East Coast, they may have more live drums and heavy instruments in their production, whereas on the West Coast, they may be influenced by funk a little bit more with the sounds of Dr. Dre. So it's all up for interpretation.
One thing that you mentioned last time we chatted was teaching kids, and kind of your
Absolutely
to get kids into music. Maybe you can touch on a little bit and some of the school that you went to. That's kind of my general question around.
Yeah, absolutely.
To like education.
Absolutely. That's something I'm very passionate about. I got the opportunity to work with the Boys and Girls Club in Brooklyn as well as Harlem on 2 different occasions. And it's an ongoing program where we take the youth and we teach them about how to be involved within the music industry if they don't happen to possess these types of gifts. So I want to make sure that they know that they can have a career path as a lawyer and they can negotiate deals on behalf of these artists, or they can own venues that book these artists to perform, or they can build up their own record labels or become part of a record label and be an executive. They can do something that's called artists and repertoire, where they escort these artists to the studios and they teach them what their songs need to entail, or if they happen to sample an old record, they'll be the liaison between the old record and the new record. There's so many opportunities within this music industry, and a lot of the times we think if we're not able to just rap or sing, there's no place for us. But that couldn't be further from the truth. It's a whole economy based on the art, and I'm just glad that I get the opportunity to tell the kids, about more opportunities. So,
Any more questions?
Any more questions?
Last question, but
Sure, anything. I could talk all day.
Just maybe stereotypes or some myths that you feel like people kept having, and you just want to demystify or kind of break that stereotyping kind of generalization about hip hop.
Absolutely. I think it's important to note that hip hop may have a negative image throughout, the media or pop culture, but again, you're only authentically telling your story. There's not just bad rap and there's not just good rap. The rap is reflective of the individual that's telling it. So anybody that has a valid story to tell, whether it be Nicki Minaj, 50 Cent, or Jay-Z, or you and I, we're all just telling our story authentically. I think more than anything, we need to realize that within hip hop culture is an individual empowerment culture. So people are just empowering their story, whatever that may be.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Feel free to go to the next slide. Feel free to hit me up, follow me on any social media at Story King Brent. You can go to my website, www.storykingrent.com. I am always open to speak with anybody about this topic or anything that I've discussed today. Thank you all for having me and taking the time to learn how to rap. So I look forward to hearing your platinum records. And I'll talk to you hopefully soon. Thank you.
So much. Yeah, very appreciated.
I appreciate it.